Welcome to another episode of Courageous Healing. I am the producer and co host, Victor Escalante. Joining me in the studio, as usual and customary, is Adele George. Adele, welcome.
Thanks. So happy to be here. How are you, Victor?
I am doing great, especially since I just had a birthday.
You the big.
The big 6'8". Yeah. You're getting me at my best, Adele.
I love it. I love it. What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about the news, what is in the news nonstop that we cannot escape. The sexual predator trials is like we just can't get away from it.
No, and that's something that we really we should be talking about and celebrating your birthday and singing you happy birthday today. But unfortunately, this is something that's really big in the news. And I mean, no matter which direction you turn, whether it's on, and even if you don't pay attention to the news, but you're on social media, you can't escape it. Especially when your friends are calling for, the reveals of the Epstein files, or calling people pedophiles, or you have different trials that have been going on that are in the news that where people have done are accused of horrendous things such as varying degrees of sexual assault and violence to other people.
I'm convicted. P. Diddy, and there's another one that I watched this documentary and I listened to some of the victims talk about the journey through the legal system and how it was really disappointing. But at the end, they got a sense of justice because he was convicted and sent to prison. Give us some general guidelines that you recommend for victims who have been through domestic violence, rape, incest, what have you.
It's sometimes this stuff is hard for me. And I don't like to read it. I don't like to see my friends speak out against it or whatever in one ways or another. And so I've just kind of learned that I don't really read the news about it. I don't really keep up with it because it doesn't affect my day-to-day life. As far as the P. Diddy's and all of those trials and stuff like that, that doesn't affect my day-to-day life. That's gossip. So in truth, I don't need to know about that. I don't need to know I don't even know. I mean, and basically from talking to you, because you just mentioned it, I know that he's been convicted, but I didn't keep up with a lot of the trial, a lot of the information. I know there were a lot of memes going around. I didn't understand the memes because obviously didn't have any context. But that's my choice. And I choose to not let that stuff come into my day-to-day life. Now, things like and guys, we've been very clear from day one. Victor and I don't talk politics on here, so this is not anything that has to do with anybody's political opinion. But when we're talking about things like the Epstein files and we're talking about pedophilia and we're talking about assault of people under the age of 18, which is essentially child rape, let's call it what it is. There are a lot of people who were assaulted as teenagers or as children or molested in some way. And so conversations like this can be very difficult. And people don't have a sense of awareness that when they're posting on their social media, that their friends and family and other people are affected by what they're posting. So you have to take responsibility for yourself and you have to take responsibility for your emotions. So you have to develop the tools in order to be able to look away, not read it, or if it's something that's bothering you because it's a close personal friend, I think you should have a private conversation with them and not go on the internet and have a hot debate. So for me, what I've just been doing is this relevant to my life today? Today, meaning today, this very moment, not today in the general sense of today and into the future. Today, at whatever time it is right now and whatever date it is today, is it relevant to what I need to know in this moment? And it's not. I need to do my job. I need to run my agency. I need to be a friend. and I need to do the things with helping people know and learn more about, the work that we do. So it's not relevant. And that's one of the ways that it helps me step back from it. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the way that everybody should do it, but I think it's an important subject, and I think it's something that is we're normalizing the conversation of sexual assault in the wrong way.
Yes.
We're normalizing, like, I have struggled, and I talk about this in the book. I literally, in my acknowledgments, people looked in the other direction when I would talk about what I've been through. And when I would tell people to stop looking in the other direction when people are assaulted, and they would just look away because they don't want to help somebody who needs help. Now, when it's something that's nasty and ugly, and it's something that's being thrown around for political reasons or whatever, it's like it's so easy for people to talk about. It's so easy for people to talk about it and charge it up in a way where they don't realize that there are people that are around them that have been subjected to this type of assault.
That's a very good point because the numbers are high. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this one, but something like 60% of women have or will experience some kind of sexual assault in their lifetime. And so there's a lot of people that, again, they have not come out publicly, but they have suffered some kind of trauma at the hands of a predator. And so when people lack the awareness, they will throw it out there. And again, they don't know what effect they're having on people who are survivors of some kind of abuse.
Yes, and let's be real here, and let's talk about the fact that individuals as a whole aren't necessarily um connected and aware of how the things that they say affect other people. And to use a very different example, many people know that I'm not a person who's of small stature. I'm considered a plus size woman. So when I'm in a room and I see somebody who's very tiny talk about how they're getting fat, for me, it's like, read the room, people. Talking shit about yourself, and then you're basically saying something. And while you don't mean it derogatory towards me, I could take it wrong if I wasn't a healed person,
Right.
and it could be injuring to me. So it's the same concept when it comes to sexual assault, rape, molestation, domestic violence. Those types of things that are posted are sensitive subjects to somebody. And
Totally.
a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. I'm out in the open about it, and a majority of people that have come to me after they've read the book or listened to the podcast, they've not told anybody. They've not said anything of what happened to them. They'll be like, when I was married, when I was in high school, I had a boyfriend who beat me and I never told anybody. I just broke up with him, or he left me, or something happened. Or when I was a little girl, I was molested by so and so and such and such. Or when I was a little boy, I was molested by so and such and such. These are not conversations that are commonplace for people to have, which is why this fires me up so much, because we've normalized these terms like pedophilia, child rape, so on and so forth, domestic violence, but we've normalized them in the wrong way.
Yes, we've sanitized them. We sanitized the incidents into more sociably accepted words, but they're still the same. And as I'm listening to you, Adele, what is missing from this discussion is, yes, we can discuss this as a society as far as what's happening in the news, but people are not qualified to offer advice. People are not qualified to know the effect that is having on victims as they bloom the trauma. And again, like we said in the previous episode, the amygdala doesn't know the difference between the present and the past, and so it's going to feel unsafe. The victim is going to feel unsafe, and they don't even realize themselves why they feel so jarred why they were triggered to have an episode of PTSD from their trauma. And again, they're left to deal with it on their own.
Yeah. And this is part of your healing journey because, we talk about healing is speaking up.
Yes.
Speaking up and speaking out and saying, I don't appreciate that comment, or I don't appreciate being a part of this conversation. Or, you know what? If you have a friend on Facebook who that's all they talk about, but you don't want to unfriend them because there's no need to, just mute them for 30 days. And, and then maybe have a message them on the side or have a phone call on the side and just say, look, I need you to know something. I need you to know that this stuff that you're sharing is, while I understand that you're taking a stance on all of this stuff, you're really not taking into consideration those of us who have been through something like this that have to see what you have to say about this. I would appreciate it if you would be more supportive, or I would appreciate it if when you post this, maybe you can do it to everybody and you can block me.
You're listening to Courageous Healing Podcast. We'll be right back.
What does it take to rise after the unthinkable? Courageous Healing is the powerful true story of Adele M. George, a woman who survived the unimaginable and chose not just to live, but to heal, thrive, and lead. From the shadows of domestic violence to becoming a voice of strength for survivors, Adele takes you on a raw, unfiltered journey of resilience, redemption, and hope. If you or someone you love is on a healing journey, this book is your companion, your inspiration, your proof that survival is just the beginning. Courageous Healing, now available on Amazon. Start your healing. Rewrite your story.
We now return you to the Courageous Healing Podcast. And when you do that in a respectful way, you're actually helping them and helping yourself.
Yes.
And people will respond positively. And if they don't, they're not your friend. They never were.
Yeah. And again, this isn't about politics. This isn't discussing who thinks who's right and releasing the list and why and not and this, that, and the other. The truth is out there that we know that some nefarious things are happening out there, and we know that nefarious things have happened by whomever, whether it's P. Diddy, Harvey Weinstein, or Epstein, or any of them. It doesn't matter who did it at this point. The thing is we know those nefarious things have happened, and they need to be brought to light, and they need to be prosecuted. And all of these things need to happen. However, we have to realize that the people that we're the closest to have been through some trauma, and that we also need to be supportive of them as well.
Yes. I remember the documentary that I watched. It was related to R. Kelly and his long trial of prosecution for some of the sexual crimes that he was convicted of, and it's now serving prison time. Adele, talk in general terms about your experience with the legal system, just in general terms.
My experience with the legal system was fortunately very positive. But it was very hard for me because it's not the way you want your 15 minutes of recognition is to have to talk about sexual assault. It's to talk about in detail what has happened.
Yes.
But the thing is that it's important to do that because they need as much evidence and they need as much information as possible. So, it's a two-way street in many ways because the law enforcement is out there doing their job, but it's very still traumatic to you because you have to relive it. So, it's not easy. I'll be honest with you. It's not easy, but when you realize that it's something that has to be done in order for prosecution to happen, or and it's a step thing. You have to talk to the police. The police have to give the information to the attorneys. Then you have to go through depositions, and then you have to prepare for trial. So all of these things can take years. Like, I think it was a total of 5 years before the final court before I was done with court. Not with civil and, criminal. Like, it took me a total of 5 years from the time everything happened until that point. So, you have to make sure that you have your, buffers in place. Your friends, your family, your therapist, your support system, because you're gonna need them. It's exhausting, but and I say that not to discourage other people from doing it. I say it in a way that people need to prepare to themselves to be able to do it.
And I've actually worked with on both sides of the aisle, Adele, in helping victims testify because they need prepping to manage their emotional and mental states on the witness stand. Because again, they're going to re-experience some sort of trauma. In your particular case, did you testify against Chad on the witness stand?
I did. I did. And because I have this really strong ability to be able to disassociate, I was make sure that I needed to let my emotions come through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's part of the strategy that again both sides are working strategies that for obviously for to get the desired result. Was it re-traumatizing for you to be on the witness stand? Because that's a common complaint from a lot of victims that they feel re-traumatized.
Yes, and it was angering. It was and for me, it wasn't necessarily re-traumatizing as much as I got pissed that I had to be there to do that, that this person that I had married had put me in a situation where I had to go through this. That
I remember in writing the book, there's a section in the book to where you had a mini breakdown at the end of the trial.
Yeah, I did. I was pissed off.
Yeah,
'Cause at that point, for me, and I think that was a good thing. I say I think it was a good thing. I know it was a good thing.
it was a release for
It
you. It was closure. It was closure for the 5 years of litigation.
Well, and, like, for the longest time, I went through PTSD, I went through episodes of panic, I went through learning safety, I went through a healing process, and in those 5 years, to get comfortable with even testifying, because but that was me telling my story over and over and over and over and over again is what gives you and talking to strangers about it, where you just have to drop the shame. You have to drop the embarrassment. But what really hit me after that trial when I punched the wall in the courthouse was anger. I was so mad.
Real anger.
The man sitting in that courtroom put me through this. I was pissed. And then that breakdown was anger. That breakdown was pure anger. And that was the first time and probably, that I got angry
Hmm.
because anger, everybody feels these emotions differently. Me, it was processing what happened to me because remember, at some point it had to dawn on me that I was in a relationship where I wasn't safe.
Right.
So for me, it was processing what happened to me. And I had never really felt anger. But at that moment in court, seeing him testifying up there for, I think, 2.5, 3 hours or something ridiculous, I was up there for a really long time. And when I walked, I was just mad that I had to do that. Like, why did he put me through this that I had to do that? That was where my mind was at that time. I was really angry. And you know what? That's something that I want to say too. You have every right to feel these emotions. You have every
Yes.
right to feel this way. Just know that you need to do your due diligence in making sure that this person is prosecuted. Because here's the other thing, it's challenging for the courts to prosecute this if there's no evidence. If there is no evidence, it's challenging.
That's true.
Where it's a he said, she said sort of thing, like And what I mean by no evidence is, when you go and you say that I've been raped, but you don't do a rape kit,
Yes.
or you've been beaten, but there's no bruises, that type of thing, where there's no immediate evidence of something that has happened. It's challenging because it becomes a he said, she said. And I'm only saying this because Victor and I, as we're doing this, we also don't want to, um, we don't want to lie. We want you to understand that this is a process and that this is something that people see in many different, because look, let me tell you something. There were people who said they didn't believe that he was capable of doing that because he was such a sweet guy.
It was so bizarre. It was so bizarre that again, people couldn't wrap their mind around it.
Right. So
They go into social denial as a result of their own biases that they have. Victims need to understand that this potentially can happen. I saw that in the R. Kelly documentary, in that some of his followers begin to attack the victims by on social media and even showing up to some of the trials, protesting and verbally attacking some of the victims.
yeah.
So again, just know that while it's not easy, it is not impossible. You will get through this.
No, build your system. Build the people around you. Build your safety system. Build the people around you, like your therapist. Build your friends and the people that are going to insulate you and that are going to be there and be your rock. It might only be one person.
Yeah.
That one person is going to be your ride or die through this whole situation. You're going to need that because you're going to need to know you're safe, and you're going to need somebody to combat these things because it just happens. And I know it's harsh because I don't want to mince words in this, but I want people to go and make complaints, and I want people to understand that, to get them arrested, to do the things that they need to do to be able to get out of these situations. But know that there are many places where they just can't do it.
And friends, you're going to have access to Adele and some of her expert guidance in upcoming workshops that we're doing. Tell us a little bit about that, Adele.
Yes, I am so excited to say that I'm putting a personal empowerment framework workshop together in an effort to help you tell yourself a different story, in an effort to help you know who you are today as opposed to who you were. And in order to build, to put a stake in the ground today and claim who you want your life to be going forward.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. I'm excited.
We're going to have to leave it there, friends. Until next time, go out and have a great week.
Thanks, guys.